What is good, Chop Shop gang? With the dust of free agency settling down, it's time we start talking about the team that we're going to be seeing on the court next year. Kelly Eco just dropped a new article looking at the Rockets depth chart. I'm going to get into that. I'm going to look at his depth chart, give you some ideas that I have. But first,
Sound 42. Turn it up. It's the Chop Not Slap Show. It's OG Ron C and DJ Candlestick.
Shop Stars OVO Gang.
DJ Candlestick. One time for the homie DJ Screw. Already. I'm feeling throwed in this bitch.
so if you didn't know, we got a new look for the Chop Shop merch store. We got some new drops in there, some new sales coming up. I want you guys to go to the merch store. You don't have to buy anything. I just want you to go there and look at some of these fire designs that we got in there. Shout out to our CSGs. If you heard the term CSG on the channel, that stands for Chop Shop Gang. That's the community. That's those passionate Rockets fans that sit through 2-3 years of a rebuild, that sit through bad games, that sit through bad coaching. Shout out to y'all. We are at the cusp of glory. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Got to keep pushing through. Shout out to the CSGs. Go to the merch store. Check out the designs on there. If you like something, cop it, man. Cop it. Let them boys know what the CSG stands for, man. Tell them that you've been a die-harder. You went through the Christian Wood years. You went through the John Wall years. So keep repping, keep supporting the Chop Shop, and we're going to keep dropping heat.
This is something I know.
For Ime, the desire to add some veterans to this roster via free agency has been kind of a recurring theme. How do you plan to balance having now 9 recent first-round draft picks in addition to the veterans that you'd like to add this offseason? And what do these two young men bring to the team as far as the culture that you want to try to establish here in Houston?
Yeah, I think it's obviously an advantage for us to add some veterans, and having the cap space allows us to do that. So we want to find the right mix of veterans, not a certain type of guy. We're looking at every position, but we also want to have guys that have professionalism, be good examples for our young guys. But we also feel like the young guys that we have and the guys that are coming back have been here, 2, 3, 4 years now. And although they're young in age, they have a lot of experience. These guys have been on big stages as well. So the intangibles that they bring, we just want to add to the team. The athleticism is kind of across the board, and we want to add the right veterans to kind of nurture these guys as well as myself.
Okay, so with free agency largely behind us now, the Rockets could still possibly make some moves before the moratorium, but I'm just going to assume that the team that we have now, pending some roster fillers, is going to be the guys that we're going to roll into next year with. So Kelly Eco just dropped a new article on The Athletic, and that article is going to be linked in the description of this video. And this article really looked at some of the moves that the Rockets have made and how it fits what's going to be on the court coming up next year. So this made me want to look at the depth chart for our 23-24 Houston Rockets. Now, Kelly laid out his depth chart and what he thinks that the team is going to look like, and I kind of looked at it. I had just minor changes on mine, but I really wanted to discuss this. One of the things from this article that really stood out to me was a quote by Coach Udoka that he had made previously. We've referenced this quote before, but in light of the move they've made at the point guard position, it really does bring a new light to it. And it kind of brings a new light to some of the different positions that the team was able to address.
Rafael, you've looked at this offseason as moving from phase 1 to phase 2 in the rebuild. During phase 1, your top rookies, Jalen Green, Jabari Smith Jr., basically played 30 minutes per game immediately. How much does that change, if at all, now that you're going to phase 2 with more of an emphasis on winning next season?
I think you mispronounced Ime's name.
Oh, Ime Udoka.
No, I'm just saying that's a question for him, not me. So he gets to, I try and find him, and then I hand him over, and it is his job to allocate who plays and how.
I mean, to answer your question, to your point, a lot of time and positions and, those things have been given, so to speak, with the young guys. it'll be changes now. Like you said, phase 2, we're adding some more young pieces, but also adding the veterans. So I think just that alone will kind of raise the level of competition. Nothing is handed out anymore, as well as myself and the new staff coming in. We've kind of stressed that to the guys. And so for us, it's just adding the right pieces, raising the whole level of the organization. I think those veterans will help, but we love the young, talented guys, and it's a balance. It might not be the starter or the finisher. It's how can we balance the lineups out with the guys we add, and some guys will play different roles than they have been, but I think we have high character guys that are all used to winning and trying to get on that level, and so they'll do what they have to do to sacrifice for the team, but it is phase 2 and we're looking forward to taking the big step.
From the article, the quote reads, Udoka's comments about nothing being handed to his new players in terms of playing time. VanVleet and Brooks are exceptions to the rule. The days of deploying Porter as a makeshift point guard are over now with the legitimate lead ball handler and NBA champ. So, I mean, there's a lot to unpack there with that quote. Obviously, we've heard Coach Udoka speak to things not being given to these young guys, them having to earn, their playing time, and none of that, stuff Stephen Silas used to do in the past. All that stuff is done, and I'm all for that. You get to the point about VanVleet and Brooks, Dillon Brooks, that is, being the exception to this rule. Obviously, the NBA, I think I had discussed this in a previous video. Like, it is, you want a meritocracy, but there's also political aspects to that. Just because a guy is purely better doesn't always mean that they're going to start or not start. At the end of the day, it's all about minutes, right? Because starting, not starting, you know what I mean? But are you going to close with the, certain lineups? Are you going to open up certain games? What are the matchups like? At the end of the day, it's about getting minutes so you can get on the court. And I think that's where you're going to really see the meritocracy coming for the Rockets. Fred VanVleet is the best guard we have on our team right now, as we speak. Unless Jalen takes a massive leap, or Amen Thompson is like LeBron reincarnated, or Kevin Porter Jr. takes a massive leap. He is the best player that we're going to have really most of the nights that we go out on the court. When you factor in all his intangibles, his experience, his defense, his offensive game, his ability to create shots, his ability to hit big shots, all of that to control the game. But that may not last, maybe just this season. But at the end of the day, he's going to play. Dillon Brooks is the best defender we have on the team right now. And so those two guys, just by de facto of being veterans, guys that have proven it in the NBA, they're going to get to start and play over our guys who are all part of a 22-win team. And that's the thing. The NBA doesn't see the Rockets as doing anything. Our guys, as much as we talk about them, you guys know I love our players. We do breakdown videos for these guys about, how good they are and their potential. That's not apparent in the NBA. People don't care about that. We see them on a day-to-day basis. At the end of the day, to get the same respect, for Jalen to get the same respect for averaging 22 points per game that any other player would, we just have to win. I promise you, once we start getting dubs, it's going to change the narrative on the team. You cannot be the worst team in the NBA and expect people to respect you. And that's perfectly fine. And I think that led to a lot of the moves that the Rockets made to get these types of guys that are more defensive minded, because defense is where it all starts. All the great coaches, that's the foundation of building a contender, is with the defensive end. So, that's really where they're going to be focused on. And I think that's what's going to get guys on the court. But, as far as playing time, it's going to be interesting to see how Coach Udoka is able to balance out the playing time, with the different types of players that we have, the variety of players that we have. But I wanted to look at Kelly's depth chart and kind of discuss it a bit. Okay, so first, obviously, like I said, Fred VanVleet is going to be the starting point guard there. You can see that at the guard spot, he has Amen Thompson backing up Fred VanVleet as the second unit guard, which I think is good. I think that's a great place to put Amen, because I feel like he's going to be, I think he's going to catch on faster than people think, just because I know he thinks the game, and he's not just a guy that's a good athlete that could get buckets, right? He's actually somebody that thinks and can read, watches film. I think that gets him on the court faster. Jalen is going to be starting at the 2 guard, and here's a little controversial thing we got here. Kevin Porter is backing him up, which is kind of, that's kind of funny, right? That's funny that KPJ is backing him up. There's a there's a world where if they allow them to actually compete, maybe some nights KPJ could start over. I doubt they do that because of the fact that Jalen was the number 2 pick. And I think him and Kevin Porter, as far as their fit at that position, it just depends on what Jalen is able to add to his game. You know, he is a prototypical 2 guard. You know, he can score off ball, and I'd love to see that more from him. He can score on ball, and I think some of those reps that Steven Silas gave him as a lead initiator is going to pay off here. He has one of the quickest first steps in the NBA, getting to the rim. If the shooting stabilizes, if that mid-range is more consistent, if that playmaking keeps uptrending like it did this past year, then he should clear KPJ. Now, KPJ, where he can get better and make a case to even be on the court over a Jalen or put himself somewhere on the court. I know he's going to get a lot of minutes because his skill set, and I'll talk about the second unit. But as far as a starter, I mean, he just has to be just a better defensive player. Not that Jalen was anything on defense, but Kevin Porter has to be more consistent, that much more consistent on defense. He also has to be able to knock down those shots like he's been doing and make good decisions with the ball in his hand. And I think if he was able to continue on like he ended the season off last year and show that this year, if we were running a true meritocracy, there's a battle there at 2 guard. And I'm all for it. There's a battle there at 2 guard. I'm all for it because at the end of the day, when you're trying to win, it's not about who we like or who we drafted here. If a guy's better than you, get better, right? Jalen Green, get better. So that's going to be an interesting thing to that dynamic to see between the two of them. Who's going to be getting which minutes, who's going to close with certain lineups, what type of lineups does Coach Udoka has. I think ultimately it's going to come down to which one of those guys can hit shots and which ones can play better defense. So that'll be an interesting kind of 2-man thing to see there if they actually are each other's backups. In the 3 spot, you got Dillon Brooks, which I think right now is a no-brainer. I do see a world where that changes in the future, but he's going to be our best perimeter defender from day one, probably our best defender on the team. He's going to see the court, especially with the coach that's trying to win games. Jabari Smith is our 4, and I think his spot is also just like Jalen's. You know, Eco has Tate behind him. I don't know if they're going to keep that same theme that Coach Silas did, where him and Tari are actually, Jabari and Tari actually playing behind each other, or is it going to be Tate as the backup 4? I'm not too crazy about Tate being my backup 4, but you can see that Jabari is going to be there. I feel like if they do go out and get another player with some of the cap space that we do have, then maybe it's a guy that could play that 4 position that may be able to push Jabari, because I can see that honestly there's competition at every position so far except that power forward, unless Jabari just stinks and Tate takes a spot, which would be nasty stuff. I mean, talk about some of the fallout from that. And then the center spot is going to be held down by Alperen Sengun, and they're going to give him an opportunity to really, really try to lock himself into that spot. And I think that he's going to do it. Honestly, I think that he's going to do it. Jock Landale is going to be playing behind him. And there's no world where I see Jock Landale being better than Alp in any type of facet of the game, even defense. I don't think Jock Landale is a good enough defender to justify him starting over Alp, because I don't see their defense being that far off from each other. I think they're similar rim protectors. If Alp is not better, I think the only thing Alperen needs to keep improving on is being able to anticipate his spots and know where to be. When you have one of the worst perimeter defenses over the past few years, it's really hard as a drop big to look good. I don't care who you are. Like, you could put Jared Allen back there. If you had some of the perimeter defense that we have these past few years, it'll look ugly. And it's all about schemes. It's all about positioning for him. He just has to learn where to be and be there, anticipate his spots, know where his help is coming from, know where guys are supposed to be. And when you add Fred VanVleet, you add Dillon Brooks to that, you hope that Jabari and Jalen have internal development on the defensive side of the ball. I know Jabari is a very intuitive defender, so him adding on the extra year of actually learning NBA coverages and schemes, and I think he even said that was the biggest thing that he had issue with. That is going to be night and day difference for him. And I think what you're going to see then is Alperen not be the scapegoat for a lot of the defensive breakdowns. When you're playing the type of coverage the Rockets were playing, if your help isn't there, it's going to look ugly and massively ugly. And it's going to heighten some of the weaknesses if you don't have like an elite paint protector, right? But you don't need an elite paint protector to have a good defense. Denver Nuggets. So it's going to come down to just the schemes, our guys in place, is the help coming when it's supposed to help, all that. And you pair the improvement in perimeter defense, the fact that Alp is a high IQ player, with his offensive skills, with the fact that he's one of the best passers on the team right now, with the fact that, you know, he's working on his shot, with the fact that he's a bully in the post, can get a shot off anytime, with the fact that, you know, all the things he does, he's a great rebounder, one of the best young rebounders in the league. I think he's going to lock down that spot at the 5. So that starting 5 for Kelly is going to be Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, Jabari Smith Jr., and Alperen Sengun. The second unit has a men starting at the 1, which was surprising to me that I'm shocked that he put him there, because I would have too. I think that the Fred VanVleet being signed is a great kind of a mentor for Amen Thompson, and gets him a chance to get on the court and actually, you know, show that, you know, he has the ability to take the reins from Fred in the future. Kevin Porter as a 2 is going to be very, very intriguing to me. And to me, he was drafted as a 3. And a guy that scored off ball, and him going back to his natural position, the benefits of the past 3 years of him in this point guard experiment, as I quoted earlier, is really going to pay off, right? This is where you're going to see him actually be able to just cook and score, and if need be the guy to set the offense. And I think he can really shine in this role if he is in fact going to be playing the backup 2 role. So I think him and Amen, the fact that Amen Thompson is a paint touch king, and Kevin Porter Jr. is one of the best catch and shoot 3-point shooters in the NBA. Match made in heaven for them as a backcourt. They're both big guards, with Amen being 6'7", Kevin Porter being damn near 6'6", wide frame. That's going to be an interesting defensive dynamic between those two. I can't wait to see, you know, you're throwing them on smaller guards in the NBA. They're going to give them hell. They're going to give him hell, especially under Coach Udoka. Tari Eason at the 3 is, you know, I think that Tari may have a claim to the starting position in the future, but I can see them keeping him on the bench just to bring a spark on both ends of the court as a disruptor defensively, and a offensive creator in transition, and a decent spot up shooter when the kickouts are there. But I think that's going to be a pretty. So far you have 3 decent defenders in the second unit, and guys that can create their own shots. You go to Jayshawn Tate, and this is Eco's lineup at the 4. I'm a little kind of, I don't know if I like that because of his size limitations. Not a lot of teams have just dominant 4s anymore, but still, I think that the fact that he is not the biggest player, those 4s that do play are usually stretches, right? They're the guys that are shooting from the corner. And I'm not sure if Tate is a guy that will be able to contest those shots. He really struggles against taller shooters because they just shoot over him. So I would rather more length there, but Kelly has him at the 4 and Landale at the 5, which I think is not bad. I would, my lineup is a little bit different, but I think that Landale, he's a great player as far as in the backup role. I don't see him being a starter on anybody's team at this point, but he's going to give you hustle minutes. Let me just say this: no matter what's happening, Jack Landale is never going to hurt you on the court. He's a guy that he's always going to do the right thing, be in position, make the right plays. So I definitely could see him getting a lot of burn with this lineup. So that's the second unit. Then you have Cam Whitmore and Jeff Green. Cam Whitmore as the third string small forward, and Jeff as our third string center. And Cam is going to take time. And Kelly kind of references this in the article. Cam is going to be a development, right? He's going to be a development project, not because he can't play. I think for him is really getting a feel for the NBA. A lot of the stuff you heard about, some of the things that people were low on him in the draft, and some of the stuff the coaching staff was saying about him at Villanova, and some of the rumors and stuff that came out, is that he has a lot of talent, but really hasn't mastered how to play within the context of a team like no rookie has. But for him, it is something that did hurt his draft stock. So I can imagine that him learning defensive schemes and coverages, knowing where to be, how to be a supplemental player, because they're not giving him like a star rep. Like, he's not a number 1 pick. Despite where he was projected to be, he was drafted 20. And I think they're going to treat him as such. There's no rush with Cam. Would not be surprised if he actually went down to play with the Vipers and got some chances to work on certain aspects of his game. So Cam being the backup 3, I think that's going to stay true in this season coming up. Now, if he comes out and just blows everything out the water, then that may change. Okay, so that's Kelly's depth chart. I'm going to show y'all mine. So my depth chart is, fairly similar to his. Same starting 5 for all the reasons that I said. Only differences that I made just because of shooting and spacing. I actually took Tate out of the power forward position and put Uncle Jeff there. And the reason I did this is because it's really hard for me to see a viable lineup with Amen Thompson and Jayshawn Tate, two non-shooters that sometimes do want to shot create. And I think that defenses are going to be easily, they can easily adjust to that and start sagging off and overhelping on our guys and kind of messing up the spacing there, especially when you see that Landale is not a sniper. Like, he can take some shots. He'll take a couple threes, like maybe one or two a game, but he's not a great shooter. So you have Tate in Eco's second unit, you have Amen Thompson in Eco's second unit, and you have Landale. And I just don't think that that's going to be a recipe for great spacing. So to mitigate that, I'm going to put Uncle Jeff at the 4 and have Tate as, even though I put him as third string, he's going to be backing up both the small forward and the power forward position, and in the pinch, the small ball 5. So he'll get plenty of minutes, just not directly at the power forward, meaning that he can get some minutes at the 5, he can get some minutes at the 4, he can get some minutes at the 3. He'll just be our all-around utility guy, depending on the lineup we have. But on my second unit, I want to go for spacing so that when a man gets in the paint, he can kick it out to Kevin Porter, to Tari, to Jeff Green. I also want to keep Landale on there because you can run some pick and rolls with a man and KPJ, and to help them make their reads easier so they're not always just attacking a set defense. So you want the defense scrambling, using their talents to kind of warp the defense a little bit. So that's the main difference. I think Cam is still going to be in that third unit. You know what I mean? I think he's just going to take time. He's going to take time to develop with that. Now, I also wanted to look at, the future, what I project that the future lineup is going to look like for the Rockets. And so the lineup that you're looking at right now is going to be what I think by 2025. So this is going to be, let's see, we're in 23, 24 right now, 24 to 25 next season. So 3 seasons from now, when, this is Fred VanVleet's last year. This is Dillon Brooks' third year on this 4-year contract. This is what I project that our starting lineup is going to look like if all these guys stay on the same developmental track that they're on. I think that Fred is going to move down to the bench, and Amen Thompson, our number 4 overall pick, is going to be the starting point guard. I can see Jalen Green being like our the team's star player as far as the offensive creator, off of a shot maker, the dude that's hitting the buckets. You give him the ball at the end of the game. I can see Tari Eason taking over that 3 role from Dillon Brooks. Tari's going to keep improving, guys. He's younger, he's bigger, and I think he's already one of the best defenders in his class and best young defenders in the NBA. I can see that projecting upwards to him becoming one of the best defenders in the league, all defensive guy, just a fringe all-star player as a defensive two-way player. So I think Tari there. I think Jabari is going to be special. He's going to be also all NBA level, second, third team, possibly all defensive player as well. And then Alp may be the wild card there. Alp's ranges from being a borderline all-star to being a perennial all-star, all NBA level center. And this is what gets you excited about the Houston Rockets, right? The talent there. And we have a great coach that can develop them. You look at this starting 5, 3 years from now, Amen is going to be 23, Jalen is going to be like 24, Tari is going to be like 25, Jabari is going to be like 23, Alp is going to be like 23, and they're still babies, right? They're still babies. They might be one of the best young cores in the NBA doing that. Then you look at the bench with Fred VanVleet and Kevin Porter Jr. You have Fred, and he's probably going to be around 31 at this age, still going to be an NBA guard. Kevin Porter Jr., I don't know if he's going to be on the team by then, just because I feel like he's going to be good enough to go start on another team. Now, maybe he is starting somewhere on the court over one of the guys that I have in my starting 5. But if Kevin Porter keeps developing, he's going to make a case to be a starter there. It's just hard to project right now because he's already older. By then, he's going to be, like 26, 27 years old at that time. So that's a great guy you have coming off. You have Dillon Brooks there. At that point, Dillon is probably, 29, 30. So you look at Cam Whitmore, I'm going to put him at my 4. I really don't know how the roster is going to shake out. There's a world where Cam actually is the starting 3. I think personally, this is just me, I think Tari is going to be better than him, just all around. Tari is a two-way player that has elite length and just feel on the defensive end of the court. I just feel Tari is going to be better than him. I think Jabari is going to be better than him, just as a guy that contributes to winning. I think Cam is going to be a great player. He might be the guy that gets squeezed out when we have to pay all these guys, right? He might be the guy that gets squeezed out. Now, it's a great problem to have all these great players, and I can see Cam being our second unit, 3 or 4. between him and Dillon. Maybe he's R3 and Dillon is no longer playable at that point. Who knows? And I put a question mark at the center position because I still don't know who. And this is going to be largely dependent on how Alp develops. If Alperen doesn't develop into what he wants, what we project him to be, you may see an actual player there that's a big name, and that's going to be starting in that 5 spot. If Alp reaches his peak and becomes this baby Jokic, Pau Gasol hybrid player, then they may draft a center over the next few years or just sign a guy that can fill that spot and be that backup big. This team that you're looking at, this is the team that we're building towards. I'm going to keep saying this. These next few years are going to be the years that we kind of formulate what we want to be. We're going to learn about these players. We're going to learn what they want to do, how they want to do it. Are they defensively minded? Are guys really lazy? Was it all on Coach Silas? Was that the reason that guys weren't running back, or is that just their character? So we're going to learn a lot about our players over the next few years, and I'm going to give them this 2 or 3 year runway, because I think in that 25-26 season, that's when we're going to be real contenders. And I mean contender in the sense of like the Boston Celtics, like how Memphis was these past few years, where our guys are going to be able to be a top 4 seed in the West and be competing to win a ring. So this is what we're building towards, and I'm really, really excited to see where this goes. So this is my 2025 depth chart. Now, I want you guys to let me know in the comments and in the chat, what is your depth chart right now? Like, who's your starting 5? Who's your second unit? Is there any changes you would make from what Kelly had and what I had in my depth chart? And then if you guys want to really write a lot, some of y'all like to write a lot in the comments, what is your 2025 contending lineup? What does that look like? Let me know in the comments. Appreciate y'all for keep supporting the channel. Keep rocking with the Chop Shop. Remember to visit the Chop Shop store. We have a 4th of July sale going on, 23% off of everything in the store. Keep rocking with us. Keep supporting us. And we going to keep doing what we do and drop this
Fire.
blue-collar hustle mentality with how you play. What kind of NBA player do you strive to be?
I mean, I just go out and do what I can do, whether on offense or defense. I just go out and play hard. I try to get my teammates open, and I let the game come to me.
Clutch shots.
My boy played the whole half, man, the whole second half, man. He's a killer. Y'all know what's going on, man. SOS, baby.
Good road win. Now let's go back to the war. Get out this clothes.
Being his father, but being his mentor, I sit back and observe. I smile. I'm a proud parent. Me being a basketball player, I'm in awe at times of the things that he's doing and his capability. And I see his ceiling. I see where he can get to. And he's heading the right direction, man.